Hello, everyone. Technical difficulties, so I hope this is working. Let me know if you're out there. Deborah E., Wendy Benjamin. Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, technical difficulties. This is beyond me. I'm just trying to figure it out. Tennessee girl, Ice to See. Hi there. Whippoorwill Holler, Mrs. Lori. Oh, thank you. That's Underhill. Let's wait just a minute more and see who else pops up here, and then we're going to get started a little bit late. So hopefully we can run a little bit late and see how it works. I had to get Brian in here to save me because I usually use my iPad, and this is on my computer, so very different. Mouse Toes, Jimmy Stone, Ellie Oakley, My Revival. Hi, Susan. Hello. Awesome. Okay, well, let's just go ahead. Hi, Bandana Grandma. Deborah Odom. Wonderful. Yeah, so glad I made it. I am too. So hopefully this works out. My iPad is much easier to use. So anyway, tonight we're going to talk about preparedness. And this is not just me. This is going to be, I want everybody to join in and let's share information and try and help people out. So
did everybody move over?
They did, Brian. See, you're on there.
I am. I'm
yes.
not. I'm not seeing it.
Well, you're there.
You and I are having a
you and me too. I'm having trouble with YouTube too. So I think if you talk being prepared is why are we doing it? I mean, honestly, there's enough reasons for everybody to have a different one. So yeah, thank you, Brian. Jimmy said so. Preparedness is a big subject. You have a lot of people that think it's just zombie apocalypse or something like that, and that really isn't it. For me, it's things like weather. This last winter, we got pretty much locked in for the most part. We had a lot of snow and then a lot of rain, and it mostly washed out our creek crossing. So we had to kind of be self-sufficient for a while. It could be the fires that we have out here. It could be any kind of natural disaster. Another one we have to look for is earthquakes because we're an earthquake country. Meet your deconstructed cabbage rolls. Yes, they are good. I had those a couple weeks ago. I had some cabbage out of my garden. A lot of times you're preparing for whatever life brings. And in our case, we experienced job loss this last March, the end of March. And that's turning around, but you never know. You can't count on anything. So we wanted to make sure that we had food and supplies for things we needed in case of job loss. And it's a good thing because we did have that happen. And again, fortunately, we're being watched over and things are turning around. So everything's going to be fine. It's Country High Homestead. Hi there from Tennessee. And yeah, there's just a lot of reasons. So tell me maybe what reasons you prepare for and what kinds of things you do to get ready for that. For a lot of you, it is hurricanes. We lived in Texas most of our growing up years, and there were hurricanes and That's a big one. And again, we have fires, we have all kinds of things living near the mountains. Kelly Coombs, I'm glad you're in. Flooding from hurricanes, Mouse Toes said. Full pantry serves us when stuck in the house. Yeah, there's a million reasons to prepare, Deborah. Every exit from my home had a bridge. Oh yeah. Earthquake, yes, that's that's a scary one. We lived in California for a while, and I really just was terrified of bridges. Economy, job loss, disability, that's definitely. Prepare for weather in Nova Scotia, yes. Um, there's a lot of different reasons to be prepared. So when you're talking that, a lot of people start backing off and saying, "No, um, they're all crazies." No, we're not. That's how people used to do things, and we've gotten away from it. So to me, it's really important to be prepared and be able to be self-sufficient if you have to. Power outages. Yeah, fortunately, being off grid helps us out there. Fractured back. Ouch, Kelly, that hurts. Food prices are going crazy. And that's another part of this is with all of the floods and all of the fires last year, there's just been a lot of things that have affected farm country. And there are shortages, and it's just beginning, but the prices are going to go crazy. So if you've already put food up and things up for your family, then you're not going to feel it as badly as other people. So yeah, that's definitely mudslides in California. Yes, that happens a lot. And putting up a garden always. Um, as much work as it is here in Nevada, I have my garden because you need to be able to have multiple sources to provide from. So, yeah, that's a big one. After moving home to Texas from California, really drove home needing to be prepared. Yes. Yes, loss of water. And that's another thing. How do you get your water? You have to have a source of water always. So do you put up water? Um, Vacuum jar and bag sealer. I have a Weston bag sealer and I love it. And I use that sometimes on using the vacuum jar sealer also. So, okay, I have my winter garden growings. I'm gonna try some winter stuff, but I don't know how that's gonna work here. I've never tried it, and I'm not sure what I can grow. So you have all these disasters, you have other reasons of preparing. Now, how do you get started? Now, a lot of us have grown up putting some things away or buying a little extra, but if you've never done it, it can be kind of overwhelming. Um, and honestly, you can start anywhere and you can start with anything. If all you can do is go to the grocery store and buy one extra can of food, then buy it. And if you do that every time, it'll gradually build up. If you spend $5 or $10 extra each time you go to the grocery store and use that for putting away, that will build up. Starting a garden, as we said before, and definitely canning. If there's any way you can or dehydrate, those are good ways to put away food, especially if you have a garden. You need to grow the food, but you also need a way of storing it for future use. And you can freeze it, but for me, freezer space is precious because when you're off grid, freezers use a lot of power. So you can't just get more freezers. You have to find other ways of storing your food. And be sure if you're going to type a comment or a question, and along with this, if you want me to see it, type it all in caps. It'll get my attention much better. So, does anybody have any other ideas how you can put food away? How do you get started? These are my ideas, but I'm one person, and there's some really great people out there that have done this all their life. They know a lot of ways to store food, and these are just my ways. Charlie, you're wanting to get rid of a freezer? Yeah, I wish I had a bigger one, but again, too much power. It's not something that we can easily do. Couponing is a great idea. Can we order from you? What would you like to order? I'm not sure what I have that. Dehydrate, use all of the food, tomato skins, tomato powder. Yes, all of those things are great. 55-year-old freezer, Charlie, that's probably a good one. Those things last forever. Yeah, I'm not sure. Do I oven can dry beans? No, I don't. I vacuum seal, but I think if you're oven canning, you're subjecting something to heat, and the biggest enemies of canned foods and dehydrated or freeze, any of them, is heat and light. So, and moisture, but you don't want to heat it, because if you heat it, you might be destroying some nutrients, and that's going to shorten the nutrition, the effectiveness. I just prefer not to dry can. I'd rather vacuum seal, put in Mylar bags or something like that. Yeah, vacuum seal. And meals in a jar. I've never thought about that. I guess I could figure some out and do that, but I have not tried that yet. So contact me later and let me have some time to think about that idea. Buy produce at Costco and dry can it. Do I leave the rings on my jars? No, I don't. Sometimes I will leave them on loosely, and that's just if I don't have a lot of room for the rings, because they grow. They just multiply. So no, I take the rings off, and I will tell you a good example. I put some bruschetta up a couple of years ago, and in my pantry a couple days ago, I found that jar that the seal had popped. It's been fine up till now, but that seal did give way, and if you've got the ring on there, you may not know that, and then you're risking botulism, and I just don't want to take that chance. Okay, Flan, I budget in stock up fund for each week and watch sales. Yeah, that's awesome. And wherever you're at, if you can buy one thing and put it away, at least it starts to help out. And botulism, yes. She cans corned beef. I do can corned beef, and you know what? It's awesome. And that is not a recommended food, and they're going to tell you it's not safe. So if you decide to try it, please do your research, because it is not a recommended recipe. I make my own choices after I educate myself, and I encourage you to do the same always. Always, always do your research. And Lori says, I don't put all my eggs in one basket. I have canning, dehydrating, freeze-dried, and freezer, and I do the same. I want as broad a base as I can because I think food fatigue, spices are going to be so important if you ever need that, because you will get tired of things. And if you have a lot of spices, you can change things up all the time. Yes, Brian, it is great for corned beef and hash. We love that. Upper will holler, Miss Lori. Hello, love, love, love. Me too. I love Mrs. Lori and I love her channel. She's an amazing lady. Do I have a video canning the corned beef? I don't think I do. I have done it in the last couple of years, but I have not. I may do that if that's something that y'all want to see. And yeah, I'm starting a new hobby, canning. And it's a hobby, but it's addictive. You start canning and you're going to just keep doing it. And that's wonderful because you're doing it, you're putting your own food away. You know what's in it, you know how it's done. So yeah, that's great. And yes, 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 please. So I guess I'll do corned beef videos soon. I actually have some in my freezer, so that will clear out some freezer space. Rain Country. Hi, Vickie. Can't stay. Hi, Heidi. I'm glad you were able to stop in. Which peaches we aren't supposed to can? I have never heard that you couldn't. I don't know why you couldn't can them. Some are going to be better than others, but if it were my choice, I would put them up. I would either dehydrate them or I would can them. I would save them in some way. And I love peaches, and hopefully my trees, I got a few off my tree just this week, so hopefully I'll have enough to do something with. Any way to safely water bath green beans? Officially, no, because it's a low acid food. I won't do that. I will always pressure can them. And there are people out there that say you can and that you're going to cook them for, I don't know, several hours. It's not worth the risk. It's not worth the risk. And even if you cook them for several hours, they're probably going to be mush. And that's really not something that sounds good to me. So look for a used pressure canner, look for a sale. There are some out there, you just have to really watch. How do you pressure can if the grid goes down? Good question. We have a Camp Chef 3-burner stove, and if you use propane, you need to be able to keep the pressure down, the propane. You can't be too high a BTU, because if it is, you're just risking that thing overheating. As long as you have something that lets you adjust the flame enough, I would feel totally comfortable canning on that. Yeah, I won't risk water bath canning low acid. It's just not worth it. Can it be done over a fire pit? I don't know. There may be somebody out there. If you're watching and know this, answer the question, because I don't know that. I would try not to be in that situation. Yeah, turkey fryer base, as long as you can control the flame, I would say that would be a good option. Have not taken Smelligan, I don't know how to say that, I'm sorry. Just started to can again, have not taken the dive to pressure canning. Scary. It kind of is, but the equipment now is, I think it's very safe. If you use common sense, if you follow the instructions, and there's a lot of really good canners out there on YouTube. Watch them, pay attention, and don't ever leave it unattended. Stay there the entire time. and I don't think you'll have a problem. And hopefully I can get a used canner. That would be awesome, Majo. They're out there. You just have to search, and I hope you can find one. Peach butter. The apricot butter I just made is amazing. So peach butter would be too. And Mrs. Lori, will you please do a video and show me how? Yeah, Mrs. Lori, do that. And have you ever made 14-day sweet pickles? No, I have not. So if somebody out there's got a good recipe, send it in and maybe we can do that. Yeah, I love pressure canning a lot more too. Pressure cookers, Alicia, and pressure canners are two different things. You can use a pressure canner as a pressure cooker, but not vice versa. So as long as you are doing it according to the guidelines, they're safe. They are designed to not blow up like everybody says. So do I have a video on pantry necessities? I don't know that I do. One thing I do though, and let me see if I can grab it here. Everything got kind of cattywampus when my live stream wouldn't start. I have a very kind of detailed inventory, and I don't update this all the time, but I want to have an idea of what I have stored away, because as you start storing things, it's real easy to forget, oh, I have that. So I do have an inventory. I would encourage anybody, once you start storing things, to do have an inventory. But as far as pantry necessities, maybe that's something that I need to do a video on, because you hear the rice and beans and wheat berries and all that, but if it's not something that you're used to and can eat or used to making, you're going to have a hard time with it. So you have to look at what your family eats, and that's the best thing to start with. Look at what your family eats, and you want to start making a list and just get a little bit extra each time. Country High Homestead. Can you hook up to electric and water where you live? We would have to run the power lines for electric quarter mile. And when we built the house, it was going to be $60,000 to do that. We spent that money and went off grid, and we don't regret it at all. Water is another matter, because there is no water piped out here. You are on a well, so that's where we get all of our water. Let's see. Pressure canner for $7. Charlie, that's awesome. That is a steal. So yeah, Brian, we're completely off grid. So Brian set a lot of this up, and I'm working on getting him. We're going to get a video made showing you some of our equipment and kind of how we went about it. But that's a big, big subject, right, Brian? So nice to see. Yes, I'm happy to hear that you're taking it seriously. And if this is something that I get enough feedback, then we'll do more videos in this way. And we're going to have other live streams so that hopefully we can touch on those things. 5 pressure canners for 35. That's crazy, but good for you. So I guess that kind of is how you get started. Another question I hear a lot is, how long are you trying to prepare for? How long do you need that food to last? Well, you know what? That's, in my opinion, start where you're at, put away a little at a time, and build until you feel comfortable. That's really rotate through the food, use what you have, and replace it with new. But yeah, we have a little bit put away, but it's mostly a comfort level. So what is comfortable for you? How do you feel? What makes you feel safe? That's how I would look at it. But don't let that intimidate you. Start a little bit at a time, just keep building. And then if it gets out of hand, you'll know it. So hi Karen. Um, yes, Edie, I've heard that on wild grape leaves, and I haven't tried it. And hopefully, if I get some cucumbers from my garden, hopefully I can try that. Because they grew back after the grasshoppers and the deer or antelope or whatever ate them. So that's good. So start where you're at. Grow, put away, or buy it if you need to, but start where you're at and build as much as you can. And then there's another question. What about the other things that are necessary or that we are accustomed to? There's so many things, other supplies, not just food. So bye, Edie. I'm glad you stopped by. What other kinds of supplies do you buy? And I would say whatever you use on a daily basis, try and put a little back. Try and get a little bit at a time. Fuel is a big one for us. We have a generator and you have to have fuel for that. If you have a propane burners, you're going to have propane. Water is huge. Hygiene products, soaps, toothpaste, anything like that. And if you're able to make your own, then, and I do a lot of that, then you want to put away the ingredients for those things. So there's just a whole bunch of stuff. Cleaning products, prescriptions. If you are on a medication or your family members, do you have medications put up for them? Inga, I am so happy to see you there. Inga is in Denmark. She got up at 1:30 to watch this in the morning. So Inga, I'm happy to see you there. That's awesome. Beautiful lady. First aid kits. Are you prepared for what happens? I mean, I had to pull mine out the other day. My sister banged her head. So I had to clean it up and get ready, take care of her. So do you have first aid products available? That's a big one to make sure you have. E-Sax, also in Denmark. Wow, that's awesome. That is wonderful. Stuff for laundry soap. Absolutely. I make my own, but I buy some sometimes. But laundry soap is easy to make. That's a good thing to have on hand. And if things ever get to that point and it's that difficult, you know what? You can barter. There's a lot of people that won't have that, and you can barter with it. So ammo, lots of it. That's part of it. And that's going to be kind of a subject of another live stream, I think, is security. Because if you have things put away and people find out, you could be a target. But let's hope it never gets to that. I mean, that's really, I hope it doesn't. How is the mullein plant medicine working, Lori? Yes, please let us know. And I made the comfrey salve, and I'm going to tell you that stuff's amazing. So clothesline, clothes pegs, yes, that's another. Have what I call my little hospital. And yeah, at the best of times, we're going to be 45 minutes from a hospital. So you kind of have to get by until you can get help. And that's just a fact of living this far out. Yeah, you're a track rock. Yes, that's absolutely right. Well, what is mullein? It's an herb that grows crazy here in the high Sierras, but it's a medicinal herb. And Mrs. Laurie has a wonderful, wonderful video on Whippoorwill Holler. So please, Deborah, go check that one out. It's really a good herb to know about. Candles, that's a good thing, or lanterns of some type. We are off grid, so we aren't dependent upon public power, but even that's not completely invincible. If things happen, we could lose that. So yes, you have to have a form of light. Carlene, ammo, that's repeating. So yep, we've got to think about that too. Susan, I haven't pressure canned yet and read a shared post. If a lady who knew her calibration was wrong on her canner or ate the results, got botulism. I would say get your gauge tested if you're using a gauge, and you get that tested every year. If you're with a weighted pressure canner, it's not reliant on the gauge. So if that's a concern, get one with the weight and use the All-American has both, but it's primarily going off of the weight. So Brian's going to have to be leaving, so he just handed me a note. Sorry. Extra wicks for oil lamps, yes. Deborah, can you grow it in Alabama? I would guess that you can grow mullein there. It's like a weed. So if you can get seeds or a start, it probably will. Candles, lighters, yes, or matches, and you want waterproof or you want strike anywhere. So you need a way of creating a flame. That's a big one. If you're in a cold place, you need some form of heat. You know, there's just everything is going to be different for everybody. Where we're at, we don't have air conditioning, we have ceiling fans, and most of the time it works pretty well. Winter gets pretty cold, so there has to be a form of heat. That's another thing to think about. Three hustles. Is there a big significant difference with electric or stovetop water bath canners? I don't think so, if I understand that, but you do need to know what is okay to use on an electric canner. If you have a glass top, I've read that a lot of those you can't put something too heavy on it. But I think you just have to read and see what it's rated for. Fire starters, that's another way of doing it. Try to go through one or more days, and as you go about things, think about how you would handle things if you were without power. That's a really good suggestion, and we have actually experienced it because we have one way in and out, and if that goes out or the weather's too bad, we're pretty much cut off. So yes, look at what you use every day, and can you live without it? And if you can't, how can you prepare for that? Yeah, all cast iron cookware. I love my cast iron and I use it a lot. There are some things that I prefer using stainless steel. So, and it just depends what I'm doing. But yeah, I use cast iron a lot of the time. Let's see. Next up, another part of being prepared is who is around you. Where do you live? Are you in an apartment? You can't really do much, but you might get to know some people or you might not want to. Um, you really need to know who is around you, and so that it's in our case, we have an awesome community. The people around us, for the most part, are like-minded people. Um, many of them are friends, and we can count on them in an emergency. If you're in a bad situation, if there's any way you can make relationships that are strong enough with people that think the same way as you, I would make that effort. We're very fortunate and blessed to have a lot of people like that around us. And we have our church here that we started because we didn't have one close. And it's priceless. And if there's a problem, I know that there's a whole lot of people that we can count on. So that is something I would encourage everyone to look around you. And if they are not someone that's like minded, I would also keep an eye on that, because not all people have good intentions. And that's really sad. But let's see. Doubt Lori, Miss Vickie, I wouldn't know half the things I do. Well, especially Miss Lori, that lady's incredible. She has so much knowledge, so much wisdom. You need to definitely follow her. But yes, we need their community. Who are they? What skills do they have? And what skills do you have? Because that could be really important. Um, we all have different strengths and weaknesses, and you want people around you that have different skills, and some of them the same. That doesn't matter. But if you know how to administer first aid, that's a big skill. If you know how to make soap, if you know how to can, those are all really important skills. So I do encourage you to find out what the people that are around you do know how to do, and share the knowledge. That is so important. So Inga, I'm on my own and it can be difficult to protect what you have. Absolutely. And that's a sad thing, but it is the case for so many people. Yeah. Let's see. Hi from Montana. Hi, Christine. Do you have good resources for learning medical treatments? I did a lot of research, and what I found is I bought a nurse's handbook, because nurses are pretty hands-on. By used RN books, yes. Pharmaceutical books, also. Homesteading resource. And I don't want those electronic, I want paper. So I definitely encourage you to look at those types of things. And if you can buy them used, that's even better. But yeah, that was what my research led me to, is to buy a nurse's handbook. And it has a lot of, and there's wilderness medicine, there's a lot of things like that. So I would just kind of keep your eyes open for those things. Baker's Creek carries many medicinal plant seeds. Yes. And get a really good book on herbs. And there's several. I don't know the names offhand, but get some good handbooks about herbs, because those were used long before any of our pharmaceuticals were. And very important to know if things get difficult. I have too many books. Well, yeah. Yeah, we do get a lot. I practice methods like making butter, yogurts, broths, etc., even though I don't need to make my own. I do too, and I don't do it just because I do them because I think they're better for us. And I think we should know how to make broths, especially. Butter and yogurts, they're good things to know, and they're not hard to make at all. So definitely try that. Okay, let's see. Does anybody have any other suggestions or comments that they want to put out there or questions? Because I think I've gone through my list. So cookbooks are really important, and old ones are good because if you're limited on ingredients, you'll find more recipes that you can use in those. Never canned. How is it to know when to use a pressure canner or when to use the water method? And also, how can you absolutely make sure to get all the bubbles? Okay, we'll start with how to use, when you know to use a pressure canner or water bath. If it's a low acid food, you need to use pressure canner. And low acid foods are going to be meats, they're going to be vegetables, and that's with some exceptions, such as pickles. I mean, but you're adding a lot of acid in your vinegar. So that's how you know when to use a pressure canner. If it's meats and almost all vegetables, you need to use a pressure canner. How can you absolutely make sure to get all the bubbles? I would use wooden or plastic tool, and you just keep moving it around. And you almost always will see that the level drops, and that lets you know that you've got bubbles out. So it's not difficult, and doing it, you'll learn quickly. It's very easy to learn. Let's see, Hurricane Maria, yeah, that changes things when people go through that. Depression cookbooks are awesome because they used what they had, and they had very limited things. So those are very good sources. Simple recipes, yes, but again, I urge buy seasonings that you use and put them up vacuum sealed or in some way in something dark so that they last longer. Herb books. Yes, those are very important to hand down to your kids and grandkids. Along with showing them those skills. And some don't want to learn, but that's something that is so important. And yes, there's a lot of great canners on YouTube. Watch them, but always, always double check their recipes. Make sure that they have said it, because I've seen some really good canners make mistakes, and you don't want to risk it. So watch the videos, learn the techniques, and then double check the recipes just to be sure. And 3 hustles. Do you have a washing machine, or do you wash by hand to save water off grid? I have every appliance you can imagine. I have a very nice washer and dryer. I've got a clothesline pole that I'm hoping to get put up soon, but have not yet. But our house was designed to be off grid, and we have a huge battery storage. So when we're making power, the power gets stored, and I have to make choices. So if the sun's not shining, I'm usually not going to do laundry, or else we have to run a generator, which costs money. So I hope that answers it. Yes, we do have a washer and dryer, and if I ever had to do them by hand, laundry, I would, but it's not something I'd like to do all the time. Okay, Deborah's got to jump off. Thank you so much for joining us, Deborah. I'm really happy you were here, and thank you. Don't forget the corned beef video. Like I said, I have some in the freezer, so I think I'm going to have to can those up. So, Alicia, I will only trust you or Mrs. Lori. Thank you, but always check us because we can make mistakes just like anyone. And you need to make sure that you're doing the best for your family. So as much as I try and be really careful, I'm sure there's times that I make mistakes. So be sure and check our recipes also. Food Safety Gov website. Yeah, the National Center for Home Preservation is a really good source of information. The ball canning book is good, although I've heard that there's been questionable things found in a few of those. So if it doesn't make sense to you, go look at another source just to make sure. Make sure that you're putting enough vinegar or something in your high acid foods or lemon juice. Make sure that you're doing it safely. Are there places that you can buy bulk grains in large containers that are sealed really well for long use? You probably can. There's some preparedness companies out there, but I find it's a lot less expensive to find a good source for your grains. Find buckets if you don't want to buy them. Walmart, bakeries, delis. There's a lot of places you can get buckets for free or for very low cost. And then go online and order some Mylar bags. It's completely worth it. You can store it in the bucket. If you have a straight flat iron for your hair, that's an easy way to seal it and then throw some oxygen absorbers in there if you're storing long term. But that is a lot less expensive than ordering the prepared buckets from anybody. And I've looked at them, and I mean, you're spending a lot less. If you have a LDS cannery, Mormon cannery nearby, you can usually get some of those things through them. So that's another source to look at. Hoosier Hills Farm Products. I have bought some, and the ones I've bought I do like. And I have bought a lot of Thrive Life, and what I've bought is very good quality. So yeah, Mylar bags and oxygen absorbers in the long run are very inexpensive, but they will protect your food. So I really encourage you to do those things. Have a lot of figs from my trees. Can I can that? I don't know if you can, I'm sure you could can them by themselves. I'm not, but I've never heard of it. My grandma always canned figs, fig jam and mock strawberry jam from figs, but they don't grow here, so I can't really try. And Alicia, if you don't have a flat iron, you can also take a 2x4 and a regular iron and seal it that way. It's a little more awkward, but the flat iron is really a nice way to do it. I like to buy a lot of my grains now from Azure Standard, and they are organic, which especially the wheat. I really don't like the GMOs. I try to stay away from those. So I'm ordering from Azure Standard, and they have a lot of the ancient grains, so I do that. Yeah, bookstores, if you have them nearby, are a good source. And how do you store the Hoosier Hills? For myself, I would do that in a vacuum seal jar or Mylar bag. Let's see, bread bakers. Is a freeze dryer worth the investment? In my case, probably not because of energy use. I don't know. I have a friend that's about to order one, but I looked into them and the cost was so high, along with some of the issues of using them and maintaining them just didn't seem like it was worth it. So I chose not to go that. Hi, Roseanne. I buy some things freeze dried, but I dehydrate and can mostly, and it's a lot less expensive to do that. So if you've got the money and the power source, go ahead. But I just decided that it wasn't right for me. Do you use the grains you purchase or store them for a life-changing event? I do both. Um, I really think that if you're storing foods like that, you need to know how to use them. Now, grains, absolutely, the berries last longer than flour, so it's good to store them. But if you are storing them, how are you going to grind them? You need to make sure you're prepared to do that and know how to use it. So, yes to both. I use them, I store them, but if you're going to store them, you need to make sure that you're prepared to be able to grind them. And do I have a regular size dehydrator or a commercial one? I have an Excalibur, but I also have one of the round ones with a bunch of racks for it. And I used that one for many years. Right now on my front porch, I have a neighbor's homemade solar dehydrator that's huge and it works awesome. So I've used all of those. A lot of times I cannot use the Excalibur because of power use. So I kind of use a mix of everything. Are there different ways to store eggs when you have an abundance? Now, I've tried the whole water glass method and it works, but it's kind of concerning. I just saw, I think it was Heidi in Rain Country, who was on here a while ago, did a video and took breast milk bags and put 2 eggs scrambled in each bag. And they are, you know, just not too big and they store flat. So you can stack a lot of eggs. Now, you're not going to have whole eggs, but you will have a lot to cook with. So I thought that that was a great idea, and I'm probably going to have to try that. So, different ways to store eggs. Well, let's see. Non-electric grinder. I actually have both. I have Family Grain Mill, I think it's called. And I can either attach that to my KitchenAid mixer or it has a hand crank. But I also have a mock mill that attaches to my KitchenAid mixer. And I love that. That's the one I use the most because it's really good and it's convenient. So that's my favorite grinder. But yes, I do have one that is non-electric. Do we dehydrate meats? I have before, but again, it's a dehydrators for me are a power hog unless I'm using the sun, so I normally just don't. Internet challenges. Thank you for coming and God bless you also. Vacuum sealing jars of bulk mixes is a great idea, yes. And make your own bulk mixes. We can do that. There's a lot of recipes out there for that. Let's see, Game Changer. Make America great. Yes, absolutely. I freeze eggs all the time. Yeah, I just have been looking for a better method, and I really like this idea because these bags store so flat and well. So if you're going to store a lot of them, that seems like a good way to do it. Once put the breast milk bags, then freeze, yes, and scramble them up and then put it in the bag, seal it because they seal, and then freeze it. And you can label them and it's actually kind of a neat thing. Again, go to Rain Country and take a look at that. She has a good video on that. Christmas Day, having a chance to meet you both. That's a thank you. This is fun, and I'm so looking forward to all of these videos. Can I do a lot of meat? Dehydrates. Still sending folks from my Facebook cooking pages to Miss Lori and you. Thank you very much. And GMO products are legal to sell in Denmark. It has to be marked as GMO. Unfortunately, I don't think they have to here, so you have to educate yourself. And there's certain foods that are. So yes, that's something I really dislike. And there's people that'll tell you it's absolutely safe. I prefer not to risk it. I just don't think it is safe. How long can homemade jerky be stored? I would say the best option is to freeze it, but again, I've only made it a couple times and it's been a while. So freeze it or vacuum seal it. And again, heat and light, you want to, and air, you want to protect it as well as you can to make it last longer. And make sure that you don't have fat on it because it could go rancid. Freeze your eggs in ice cube trays, and that is a good method too. Just starting, what would you start with in the garden? Easy, durable, relatively simple fruits and veggies. I think that depends on where you're at. For me, we've had challenges with so many things, but one of my favorite things to grow is to buy a bag of pinto beans at the grocery store, fresher ones, and plant them. And I use them as green beans, along with letting some develop into seeds. Greens are fairly easy to grow, and I do a lot of that. Pardon me. Let's see. Gotta go. Bye, Kelly, and thank you so much for coming by. And let's see. Great chat. Yeah, and I think we're about to wrap this up because I started a little bit late, but it's 5:37 here, so it's getting a little bit late on the East Coast. So you can plant pinto beans. Absolutely. That's what my mama and my grandma always did. And that's all I've ever had luck with. I've bought the Blue Lake and all those kind. I've never had luck with any of them. So I plant just plain old pinto beans from the grocery store, and they're awesome. Pinch of salt in the eggs. Yep. Pear butter. Let's see. Let's not forget to have cash. And I do think it's important, especially preparing for things like hurricanes and earthquakes and things like that. Have some cash because no, you won't be able to use an ATM. And if all your money's in the bank, you're kind of out of luck. So I think we're going to end it up here, but I've enjoyed this so much, and I'm looking forward to our next one. I'm going to do another one next Tuesday night, same time. I'm going to try and make that on parts of being off grid. And if I really want to get a video made of how we do it, because that would be really hard to do in a live stream. But I think that that's a really big topic, and I think a lot of people want to know about it. So thank you so much, all of you, for coming. And I'm sorry about the beginning delay with this technology, but I'm getting there. I'm going to get it figured out. So recently got into canning, been a wonderful research. Drunken peaches are so good. Those are so good. So thank you so much, everybody. Inga, thank you so much for getting up such an early hour to come share this with us, and all of you. And I forget the name. There's another one out there in Denmark. Thank you for getting up such early hour. Thank you all, and love you. God bless, and come back next week so we can talk about being off grid.